People have asked me before, can you truly trust a lever to stay closed and not pop open on you, say at the bottom of a squat or something like that? I did a podcast earlier this week with Matt Reynolds at Barbell Logic, and I asked him this specific question. I wanted to get Matt's take because he not only has a lot more experience in using lever belts, he's also got years and years of experience coaching clients who all use lever belts. So we're going to play that clip for you, and then I'll give you some closing thoughts.
Can I ask you a question about the lever belts? Because
Sure.
the only lever belts I've ever used are belts that I've produced myself, and I've never had a problem with them. But I get this question that I've never felt like I've had a really satisfying answer for, and that's the potential for a lever to pop open during a lift, which
Yeah.
obviously would be a really bad thing.
Yeah, sure.
I've never heard of it happening with any one of our levers, but I've
Nope.
certainly heard of it happening.
Yep.
What's your experience with that? Have you ever had it happen?
Never,
or
never.
had a
Not with
client
yours.
had it
And
happen, or-
I've seen it happen on even at meets with cheaper belts. And you
Mhm.
can see that lever. You know, one of the things about your levers is that they're very tight. There's not a lot of give, kind of vertically. So
Mhm.
that lever is nice and tight, and you can kind of feel that spot as you crank that lever down. You get about halfway in, and it goes click, and it
Mhm.
snaps shut, and it wants to stay shut. But
Right.
I've seen cheaper belts that are very loose. That lever's loose, and they'll push out really hard against that lever. Sometimes they'll pop open. But with yours, I've never had that be an issue ever. Never had it pop. As a matter of fact, I mean, it's it doesn't. You can pop it with your thumb, but it's a pretty hard pop with your thumb to open that thing back up
Mhm.
after a lift, which is certainly that's the direction I want it to go. I want it to be tighter and more secure. I don't want to worry about taking a big breath and going down in my squat and having the thing pop open. That's obviously a huge problem. It's the same issue. I mean, it's a bigger issue, but people with cheap wrist wraps have seen the same thing where they come down on a bench press on a with the wrist wraps, and that Velcro pops open. All of a sudden, the thing, and that really throws you off in a lift when you've got
Mhm.
your wrist cranked down and the Velcro pops open. And so again,
Sure.
this is why we use really high quality belts, high quality leather, high quality levers. But yes, I've never had that issue ever with Dominion. I think I have 3 lever belts. I think I have 2 4-inch and 1 3-inch lever, as well as a prong 4-inch and a prong 3-inch as well from Dominion. So I think I've got 5, and my wife has got 2 as well. So I probably have 7 across, and we've never had an issue ever. And that roller, the buckle is the same sort of thing. You can kind of feel when it's like when you get a cheap weight plate that goes onto a barbell and there's a lot of play on it, right? So
Yeah.
it's that
Mhm.
that inside diameter of the plate is significantly bigger, a little bit bigger than the outside diameter of the barbell. And so it goes on there and it's kind of wiggly. Really good plates, like competition level Olympic weightlifting plates, the kind of stuff they would use in the Olympics. You can barely even get them you've got to really turn them exactly right to slide onto the barbell. There
Yeah,
is
they're
zero play.
tighter tolerance.
Yep. And it's the same thing with your buckles, with your prongs, with your levers. There's very little tolerance there. They're tight and smooth, and they grab exactly where they're supposed to. And I think if you've got a belt and you feel a lot of that play, then that probably tells you you've got a cheap belt, or at least a cheap buckle or a cheap lever. And so yeah, I've never had an issue there with your levers ever. So they've stayed very secure.
The only thing I would add to what Matt and I discussed is that if you are getting a lever from a reputable manufacturer, you know who it's coming from, you probably don't have anything to worry about. And you can always test this. When you've got the belt on, you want to test trying to flip this lever open and make sure that it wants to return to the closed position, just like that. It's always going to have this critical point where if it goes past that, it wants to flip open just as easily as it wants to flip back closed. My theory is that I think some people buckle the belt a little bit early before they get to the platform, and they don't notice as they're setting up that the lever actually drifts open on them. It's not fully closed at the start of the lift, and this is when I've actually seen this happen. So 2 things, just make sure you test your lever, and also make sure right at the start of your lift, you double check, take a quick look, make sure it's fully closed, and I think you'll be just fine. Hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give us a like and subscribe. If you want to check out any of our belts, dominionstrengthtraining.com. If you have any questions, you can put those in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.